My wife, Rachel, was always captivating. She's tall and graceful, with auburn hair and a figure that turned heads. When we first met, her eyes lit up like she had just discovered something magical. I'm 6'2" and maintained a lean build from my years on the swim team in high school. Our friends would always chuckle about how our constant grins betrayed our feelings for each other. Our romance was fiery for the first 2 years. We met frequently, just for the excitement of it. But everything changed when Rachel made a fateful mistake with Tom, a towering 6'10" basketball star. Out of nowhere, I was bombarded with texts and photos of Rachel and Tom at a party where they ended up making out and slipping into his room. The next morning, I confronted her, and she confessed everything. She had gotten drunk and made a regrettable mistake, swearing that she loved only me and was deeply sorry. Most of our friends said it was a one-off and that I should forgive her. After 2 weeks of intense anger, I relented, but with a stern warning that this was her only chance. In hindsight, those who told me to forgive her ended up in toxic relationships, while those who advised leaving are now happily married. I pursued a career as a software engineer, and Rachel took a job as an office manager. We got married and had 2 children, Jack and Ellie. Life was smooth until Rachel started working in real estate, leading to long hours and growing distance between us. Remembering her previous infidelity, I installed tracking software on her phone and a hidden recorder in her bag. It wasn't long before I discovered she was having an affair with a man named Paul. Devastated, I clung to the fact that their conversations were devoid of genuine affection. Desperate, I tried to win her back by cooking her favorite meals, dressing the kids nicely, and showering her with attention. She seemed receptive, and I dared to hope. I sent her pictures of the kids and expressed my love whenever I saw her messaging Paul. I was elated when she told Paul she couldn't meet him on Friday night. I arranged for my brother and his wife to babysit the kids and took Rachel to an elegant restaurant for dinner and dancing. That night, we tried to rekindle our past passion. We didn't, but it was a joyful attempt. The next day, we picked up the kids and spent the entire day at the theme park. Life felt promising, and I thought we were making progress. However, a text from Rachel to Paul on Wednesday morning crushed my hopes. "Can't wait to see you. I missed you." It hit me that she was deceitful, and everything I believed about her was a lie. I decided not to listen to her excuses or let her deceive me anymore. Rachel had betrayed me and our children, even if she hadn't formally ended things with us. I saw Paul's face when I activated the camera on Rachel's phone using the monitoring software. He was a colleague of hers, someone I had met at her office. Realizing that violence was not the answer, I resolved to remove Rachel from our lives, expose her double life, and seek primary custody of the children. I would reveal to everyone how she chose her lover over us. The following week, there was a recital by Ellie's school choir. I moved a reminder on Rachel's phone calendar to the day after the event. When I confirmed she was at her lover's apartment during the recital, I left her a message and pretended she had missed it. Ellie was upset, but I reassured her that sometimes adults get busy with work. Rachel's late arrivals were becoming the norm. When we got home, she smelled freshly showered despite still wearing her work clothes. She tried to make amends with Ellie, who eventually forgave her but insisted she couldn't miss the next recital. I wondered if Rachel was genuinely remorseful or just afraid of being exposed. I noticed Rachel and her lover meeting at a quaint cafe known for its Scotch eggs. I mentioned this to my father-in-law and made a reservation for Wednesday, their usual day. Ensuring Rachel was still in the office, I headed to the cafe with my in-laws. We arrived a few minutes after her, and I saw Rachel sitting in the back with her lover. "Would you prefer a booth or a table?" I asked loudly. Rachel's head snapped up, eyes wide, and she quickly distanced herself from her lover. He looked puzzled until he saw us and tried to disappear into his seat. As we were seated, Rachel hurried over. "Mom, Dad, what a surprise to see you here." We heard about the amazing Scotch eggs and decided to try them. Dad beamed, delighted to see Rachel. He leaned in for a hug. "Rachel, they're really great. Why don't you join us?" My colleague and I are right over there. Rachel pointed to a booth where her lover was awkwardly waving. His face flushed. The smiles on my in-laws' faces vanished. We wouldn't want to interrupt your business lunch, my mother-in-law said, staring daggers at the lover. No problem, Rachel said cheerfully. We're just grabbing a quick bite before heading out to show a property. It was an uncomfortable lunch. After the lover shook hands with everyone, Rachel did most of the talking. My mother-in-law frowned at her food, and my father-in-law glared at the lover without saying a word. I asked innocuous questions like, "How long have you been with the company?" And, "How is a nice guy like you still single?" My favorite was, "Rachel, you should introduce your sister to him. If it works out, we could be related." Rachel's smile was strained. The lover finally said, "No thanks, I have a girlfriend." "Oh, is it someone we know or a secret?" I asked. "She's in a bad relationship and trying to get out of it. I don't feel comfortable telling you who it is," he said with a forced smile. The smirk disappeared when he realized everyone was glaring at him, especially Rachel. When the food arrived, my in-laws ate quickly. I only took a few bites of my Scotch egg. Rachel noticed and asked, "Is the Scotch egg not good?" "I've lost my appetite," I replied, staring her down. Rachel's mother waved to the waiter and handed him a $100 bill to cover the entire meal. She stood up abruptly, saying she needed to use the restroom. The waiter returned with the change, and Rachel's father took it, glared at the lover as if he were something foul, and walked to the restroom without a word. I interrupted Rachel in her so-called business lunch, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Sorry to interrupt your little get-together. I'm sure you got a lot of lies to craft," I said before storming out of the restaurant. Rachel chased after me to the car. "It was nice to see you at lunch. We'll talk about this at home. Your parents will be here soon," I said. I saw Rachel's parents nearly running towards the entrance, deliberately avoiding her lover. Rachel, seeing where I was looking, dropped her gaze. "It's probably better this way," she mumbled. Her parents hugged her briefly and got into my car. I walked away from Rachel without another word. We drove home in silence. When I dropped my in-laws off, I said goodbye as usual. Rachel's mom hugged me tightly and told me she loved me like the son she never had. Her dad hugged me and asked me to bring the kids over soon because he missed us all. It hurt to see how Rachel was willing to lie to her parents. Rachel's parents had already cut ties with her younger sister, Laura, because of her cheating. They shut down any conversation about Laura immediately. One Sunday, Laura tried to sneak into their church during a service. Her dad interrupted the pastor to apologize for having to leave and walked out without acknowledging Laura. That evening, Rachel came home with a story about how a dinner meeting with her colleague had secured a big deal for both of them. "It's inappropriate to go to dinner alone with an unmarried man. I don't want you near him anymore, and I definitely don't want you going out with him again," I told her. "Honey, I'm sorry if it bothers you. I won't see him alone anymore. Don't worry about it. We made a great deal," Rachel said. I told Rachel I would sleep in the guest room until she properly apologized to me and her parents. "Remember when your sister got caught cheating?" Rachel was visibly alarmed. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill," she said. On the plus side, I now had an excuse not to be intimate with her. I also installed a hidden switch in her car and her lover's car while they were at his apartment. I sabotaged the transmission sensor to keep mechanics guessing. One day, while I was at Jack's football game, Rachel decided to spend time with her lover. I remotely disabled Rachel's car. Knock, knock. Her lover appeared. "What happened? You came back so quickly," he said. "My car won't start," she replied. "Let's wait 15 minutes, he said. "The battery is fine. The headlights work, but it just won't start," she said. "Do you want me to give you a ride home?" he asked. "No, you idiot. If my husband sees you dropping me off, it'll be a disaster," Rachel said. "Call a tow truck. I need to pick up Ellie for her band competition." "Why not let your husband drive her?" he asked. "He's with Jack at his football game. You can take my car," she replied. "Debacle at the restaurant?" he asked. "Oh, yes, okay. Take me to the rental car place and I'll call a tow truck for my car," she said. Meet the tow truck driver and pay him $50 to give the address of our business where the car was found. Rachel's phone rang. Damn. Hello? Have you picked up Ellie yet? I asked. I'm having car trouble. I think it's the battery, she said. Do you want me to come to your office and help? I asked. No, I already called a tow truck and will rent a car nearby so Ellie won't be late, she replied. Okay, call if you need help, I said and hung up. Rachel's lover dropped her at the rental car place, but she was late picking up Ellie. Fortunately, Ellie called me, and I arranged for a friend to take Jack home. I picked up Ellie for her competition just in time. When Ellie and I got home, Jack was already in his room and Rachel was waiting, still in work clothes, but smelling like she had just showered. Ellie, I'm so sorry. I had car trouble and couldn't pick you up. I rented a car, but by then, Dad had already picked you up, Rachel said. It's okay, Mom. I just made it to the competition thanks to Dad. This is the second time you've missed my performances. I hope the work is worth it, Ellie said before heading to her room. I confronted Rachel. I called your work after lunch and they said you left. You had over 2 hours to pick up Ellie. What happened? Rachel froze for a few seconds and then said, I was doing some things and thought I had enough time. I didn't expect the car to break down. What business were you doing? You never mentioned it, I asked. Just some things that needed to be done, she replied. Well, I hope those things were more important than your daughter's love because you're on thin ice, I said, then went to sleep in the guest room. It was clear Rachel didn't care about missing our kids' activities. She prioritized her lover over us. The mechanics couldn't find any problems with Rachel's car. Ellie started pushing Rachel's buttons. Mom, you said you were taking me and my friends to the mall this Saturday. Can you tell me now if you don't want to drive us? We don't want to be stranded if your car breaks down again. Jack heard this and laughed. Nice one, Ellie. The kids felt neglected by their mother. Rachel complained to me, asking me to talk to the children about respecting her. I'll think about it while I wait for your apology in the guest room, I said. She blamed my isolation on my stubbornness. On Saturday, I took Ellie and her friends to the mall. Rachel claimed she had work to do. Her car was parked at a house she was supposedly selling. Who was with her? When we got home, Ellie thanked me loudly in front of her mother, emphasizing her gratitude. She then called her friend and ignored Rachel's questions. Rachel looked like she wanted to complain, but I started laughing, took my drink, and locked myself in my office. Rachel, still in work clothes, smelled like she had just showered. She likely had an intimate encounter in a house she was showing. Maybe she finally got her act together, I pondered while planning Jack's birthday party. We decided to celebrate at an amusement park with roller coasters and carnival games for friends and family. Booking a spot on a busy holiday weekend was a challenge, but I managed. When I told Rachel, she seemed nervous. I offered to take the kids and their friends while she picked up the cake and decorations. We'd ride the attractions, eat funnel cakes, play games, and have a memorable time. A week before the party, I repeatedly tampered with her lover's car to prevent their meetings. They rescheduled for Tuesday, so I sabotaged his car again after it was fixed. I saw Rachel's text on Wednesday. Can't wait to see you this afternoon. Her GPS showed her heading to his apartment. She had time to meet him, get the cake, and make it to the party. I rented an old delivery truck for my plan. Confirming Rachel was at her lover's apartment, I placed a large, suspicious crate labeled "Fragile, Handle with Care" at his front door. Using a crowbar, I forced the door open and released a swarm of live, angry bees into the apartment. I quickly left. Listening through Rachel's phone, I heard chaos and her lover shouting to call the police. I blocked her phone. The lover finally called the police, saying there was an emergency in his apartment. The police arrived and the bees swarmed, making the officers retreat and shut the door. It took hours for animal control to handle the situation. Afterward, 2 exhausted police officers questioned Rachel and her lover. 2 more officers arrived but quickly left due to the chaos. "Who's the tenant here?" an officer asked. "I am," the lover replied. "And who are you?" the officer asked Rachel. "Just visiting," she replied. "Do you have ID?" the officer asked. "Is this really necessary? I just got attacked by bees," Rachel said, showing her ID. "How do you know him?" the officer asked. We work together, Rachel replied. What were you doing here? The officer asked. Picking up some documents, Rachel said. After confirming their identities, the officer asked, why were there bees in the apartment? It was a prank gone wrong, the lover started, but Rachel interrupted. Did you buy bees for your boyfriend? The officer asked. He's not my boyfriend, Rachel said. Stop lying. Why did you buy bees as a prank? The officer pressed. I didn't. I ordered a small terrarium. He told me he likes exotic pets, so I surprised him, but it turned out to be bees and they attacked him, Rachel said. The bees must have been expensive, the officer said. Not too much, Rachel said. Do you buy exotic pets for all your co-workers or just your boyfriend? The officer asked. Rachel didn't answer. What about the broken door? The officer asked. I broke it yesterday and didn't have time to fix it, the lover said. The officer stared at them for a minute before saying, I know this is all a lie, but I can't stand this mess anymore. You and your friend can leave because you both smell like trouble. I'm not contaminating my car with this. With that, they left, slamming the broken door loudly. What was that? The lover asked. Rachel, always quick-witted, replied, We couldn't tell them someone broke down your door and released bees in your apartment. Why not? He asked. Because then they would ask my husband if he did it. He already knows. If not, they would tell him I was here, Rachel said sweetly. Be honest, how many other women do you see? No one, the lover replied indignantly. When was the last time you slept with another woman besides me? Rachel asked. About a month ago, he muttered. You've been seeing her this whole time? Rachel asked. There was another one 6 months ago, he said quietly. Did their partners find out? Rachel asked. Why do you think they were partnered? He asked. Because I know what turns you on. Now answer, Rachel said. Yes, both, he replied. Did they know it was you? Rachel asked. Not sure, he replied. Great. Now I'm sure lying to the police was the right choice. This is likely revenge from one of their partners. I'll find out if my husband did it, Rachel said. Rachel's phone rang. Hey, Rachel, have you picked up the cake yet? I asked. Damn, I'm stuck at work. Leaving now, she replied. Don't let Jack down, I said. I'm on my way, she replied and hung up. Rachel showered, dressed, and left. I tampered with her car halfway to the store. After the fourth attempt, it started. It broke down 3 more times, but she finally made it. She arrived late at the amusement park. When Rachel walked in with the cake, we all covered our noses and coughed. Jack asked his mom to just go home. After the party on the way home, Jack asked, Why does Mom always miss our events? She tries to do what's best for the family, but sometimes it's hard to be in 2 places at once, I replied. But you're always there for us and make more money, Jack said. I have a more flexible schedule, so it's easier for me to be with my favorite bees, I said. It's not funny, Dad, Ellie said. It'll be funny when you tell your friends at school tomorrow, I replied. We had to throw away the smelly cake, which the kids found amusing. I was glad to sleep in the guest room that night. A few days later, I saw Rachel sniffing the upholstery in my car. She looked like a detective searching for clues. I followed her upstairs and recorded her sniffing my shoes. I never asked why her car didn't smell like bees. 2 Saturdays later, I told my family I needed to take a drive to clear my head. No one wanted to join me, so I went alone. Instead of driving aimlessly, I headed straight to the marina where Rachel's lover Paul worked. His boat was docked at the pier. I found him on deck, looking surprised to see me. Can I help you? Paul asked. Actually, I think we can help each other. I'm Rachel's husband, and we need to talk. Can I come aboard? I said, stepping onto the boat without waiting for an invitation. I sat on a bench and motioned for him to sit across from me. The boat smelled of seawater and fish, mixed with the fresh scent of cleaning supplies. I know you've been seeing my wife Rachel for over 6 months, I stated bluntly. Hey, we're just friends, Paul stammered, his face turning pale. Would it help if I showed you photos and videos of your meetups? I asked, pulling out my phone. I don't know what you're talking about, he said, trying to keep his cool. Cut the crap. I know you're sleeping with my wife and I have proof. I don't care about you. I care about what Rachel does. Instead of hiring a detective, I'll pay you to get more evidence, I proposed. You want me to make a video of me with your wife? That'll cost you, he replied, eyeing me warily. Name your price, I said. $20,000, he said, testing me. Deal. But I need a video showing her face and body clearly during the act. I also need written consent from you that you took the video and allowed me to use it, I replied, unfazed. Why do you need more evidence if you already have proof? He asked suspiciously. I need more leverage for the divorce, I explained. That's pretty harsh, he said, almost sympathetically. Like how she's betraying me and our children? I retorted. He paused, then whispered, Fine, $20,000 and I won't tell the other husbands about their wives. Done. I'll also arrange and pay for a weekend getaway for you and Rachel at a luxury resort. Don't tell Rachel about our deal. He'll call to set up a time to get the video and pay you in cash, I instructed. Deal, he agreed. Make sure her face is visible in the footage. I'll send the consent form today and call you Monday, I said, then left and continued my drive. On Wednesday evening, I told Rachel I had a business trip this Saturday. Is that a problem? I asked. No, it looks like it will be a relaxing weekend. Have fun, she replied, a little too eagerly. On Monday night, I called Paul and picked him up from a remote location near the marina. I checked him for recording devices before leading him back to my car. Do you have what I need? I asked. Yes, he replied, handing me a flash drive. I checked it on my laptop. This is exactly what I needed. Do you have the consent form? He handed me an envelope, which I verified. I took a photo and sent it to myself. Then I handed him an envelope of cash. He counted the $100 bills twice, smiling. If you need another video, let me know. Easiest money I ever made, he said. On Tuesday, I gathered my brother and his wife, showing them a short video, photos, and a list of Rachel's dates, highlighting missed family events. I did the same for Rachel's parents and mine, asking everyone to ignore Rachel until I gave the okay. On Wednesday, while Rachel was with her lover, I explained to the kids what was happening. Mom is involved with another man, and I'm not sure if she still loves me, I said. Are you getting a divorce? They asked. We'll discuss it with your mother. She's at her boyfriend's house today, I replied. Is she there now? They shouted. Yes, I said, showing them the GPS tracker on her car outside his apartment. Is this why Mom misses our events? Ellie asked. I showed them the dated list with missed events highlighted. I also showed a time-lapse tracker of Rachel's whereabouts on Ellie's concert and Jack's birthday. They cried when they saw what time she left the office and her lover's apartment on Jack's birthday. That skunk, Ellie muttered. The most important thing is that I love you both. This is a problem between your mother and me, and we will do everything we can to remain a family, I assured them. After half an hour of crying, hugging, and talking, Rachel walked in. Seeing our expressions, she looked worried. What happened? She asked. Kids, go to your rooms while Mom and I talk, I said. They hugged me, gave Rachel a hostile look, and went to their rooms. When the doors closed, I asked Rachel to sit. What's happening? She asked, trying to stay calm. Rachel, I know you're having an affair, I stated plainly. Oh God, no, that's not true. I would never cheat on you. Why would you say that? She said, tearing up. If you won't tell me the truth, this conversation is over, I said firmly. This must be a mistake. Someone thought they saw something that wasn't true, she replied, trying to sound convincing. Okay, we're done for today. Think about what you're doing to this family. We'll discuss this tomorrow. Until then, don't talk to me or the kids, I said, heading to the guest room. Rachel followed me, insisting, You are wrong. I would never do that. I closed the door in her face, and she fell silent. I heard her talking quietly through Ellie's door, pleading, Ellie, what did Daddy tell you? It's all a mistake. Please open the door so we can talk. Ellie texted me and Jack. Can you make her go away? I'll try, but she just denied the affair, so there's no point if she's lying, I replied. Perhaps you're mistaken, Ellie wrote back. I have undeniable proof of their affair, I texted Ellie. Seriously? Ellie replied. I walked into the den where Rachel was nervously pacing. Please keep the kids out of this until we figure it out. They're already stressed, she pleaded. I told them the truth. You betrayed me. This is between us. Leave the kids alone, I said firmly. Rachel retreated to the bedroom, her sobs muffled behind the closed door. The next day I was waiting in the garage when Rachel came home. The kids were away at a friend's house for the weekend. "Rachel, we need to talk," I said. She hesitated but finally sat down on a nearby chair. "Have you thought about what you're doing to our family?" I asked. She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. "Are you ready to talk honestly about your affair?" I pressed. She nodded again, her voice trembling. "So what do you have to say? It's all a misunderstanding?" I asked. I had an emotional connection. We met a few times, but it didn't go beyond that. "I love only you," Rachel said, her voice breaking. "If you lie, this conversation is over. We'll talk Saturday at 9 a.m. The kids will stay with my parents. Think about what you're doing to this family," I said, leaving her sobbing in the garage. On Saturday morning, I took the kids to my parents' house for breakfast. When I returned, Rachel was sitting on the porch swing, looking lost. "Are you ready to talk honestly?" I asked. She nodded. "Did you tell my parents?" I asked. "Yes." "Have you told your parents, your brother and his wife?" I asked. "Yes." "How could you do this to me?" Rachel asked, her voice quivering. "You lied to me, the children and our parents. You kissed him a couple of times, that's all. Now you've turned our parents and children against me. Since you still refuse to be honest, this conversation is over. The children will stay with their grandparents. I'll live in the guest room and work from home. We'll talk on Tuesday after work. Think about what you're doing to this family," I said, walking away. That night, I returned from dinner with my parents and children. Rachel was in the living room looking exhausted. "Well, talk on Tuesday," I said and went to bed. Rachel's friends texted me, asking me to forgive her, calling it an innocent mistake. I made a video call and showed them evidence of the affair. They quickly apologized and hung up. Rachel didn't hear from them again. On Tuesday evening, Rachel came home looking drained. She brought sushi from our favorite Japanese restaurant and set a plate for me. Those days when you wonder what lies to tell your friends and family so they don't find out what a terrible person you are take their toll, I said, not touching the food. "Nobody talks to me. They think I'm a monster," Rachel said, tears streaming down her face. "Lies have consequences. You showed everyone there's a monster inside you," I replied coldly. "They said you showed them photos and videos of me with my lover," Rachel said. "Yes, I did. No one will show me this photo. Can I see it?" Rachel asked. "Yes, if it helps. I didn't let other copies get out. I don't want our family ridiculed," I said, handing her my phone. Rachel looked at the photo and video, her hands shaking. "I love you so much. Can't we forget this mistake?" she asked, looking up at me. "How strong was your love for me that you had to be with someone else?" I asked, my voice hard. "I never loved him. Marriage is about shared responsibilities, trust, and fun. I was 100% responsible, trusted, and had fun with you. But you left most of the financial and family responsibilities and all the trust on me while you partied," I said. "You stole my love by giving yours to someone else. How long have you known?" Rachel asked quietly, tears streaming down her face. 7 months, I replied. "Why did you wait so long?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I hoped it was a one-time mistake and you'd admit it because you always say you love me," I said. "I'm sorry," Rachel said, sobbing. "How can I trust you now?" I asked. "Because I love you and I'm telling the truth," she replied. "Is this the same truth you told me in our last 3 talks where you denied the affair?" I asked. After a few minutes of silence, I asked, "Rachel, what can I do to make things better?" I placed an envelope on the table in front of her. "This is a post-nuptial agreement. Sign it, and I'll consider taking you back. We'll need therapy for us and the kids to make it work." "I don't want to sign a post-nuptial agreement," Rachel replied, looking defeated. "Then we're done. It seems you just want to come out of this marriage better off financially," I said. "What will I get if I sign it?" Rachel asked, her voice breaking. "If one of us files for divorce, I get 70% of everything. If I cheat, it's 50-50. If you cheat, I get 85%. In all scenarios, I get full custody. Have a lawyer look at it and sign it. I need to know you're willing to sacrifice financially." "How much time do I have?" she asked, looking desperate. "Until Saturday morning," I said, standing up. "Aren't you going to eat?" I ordered your favorite food, Rachel said, her voice cracking. After everything you've done and all the lies, should I expect the arsenic sauce to be fresh? I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. She started crying harder. Later, Rachel signed the agreement to try and regain some trust. The next day, I decided to pay a visit to Rachel's workplace during her lunch break. I approached Miss Edwards, the stern office manager, who looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and irritation. "Can I help you with something?" she asked sharply. "I need to clear up some misunderstandings about my wife and me," I began. "This is personal. If you don't leave, I'll have to call security," she warned. "It's about my wife and a colleague she's been having an affair with," I said urgently. "Do you have any proof?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes, here are videos and voice recordings of them discussing their affair," I said, playing the clips briefly. Her expression hardened as she listened. "Can I assume my wife will be terminated immediately?" I asked. "Yes, along with her partner," she replied curtly. "You can't fire him. I had permission to record my wife, not him. This evidence isn't admissible in court, and I don't want to be accused of illegal surveillance. I doubt you do either," I said. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention," she said, visibly relieved. "Can I leave a photo for reference?" I asked. "No, I prefer to handle this discreetly," she replied. Rachel came home that evening in tears, devastated by the loss of her job and the lack of a reference. She tried to talk, but I cut her off with, "We'll talk on Saturday," and went to my room. On Saturday morning, Rachel was sitting at the kitchen table looking miserable. "You should have quit immediately to avoid your lover. Since your moral compass is broken, we should have discussed this first," I said coldly. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how to handle it," she said weakly. "We no longer discuss decisions that negatively impact our marriage or children. By the way, have you signed the postnuptial agreement?" I asked. "Yes," she said, handing me the signed document. I scanned it, sent a digital copy to my lawyer, and locked the physical copy in a safe. Then I laid out the new house rules. If you behave well, start counseling. Inform the family we're trying to repair our marriage. I knew this was a farce. I didn't even schedule counseling. Rachel tried to be the perfect housewife, but I noticed she installed a hidden camera in my office. I watched her do it via my laptop in the car. On the following Saturday morning, I entered the kitchen where Rachel was drinking coffee, looking self-satisfied. We exchanged cold greetings, and I took my coffee and sat across from her. "Where are the kids?" "Oh," I asked. "I took them to my parents," she replied. "Why?" I asked. "We haven't been intimate in months, and I hope to change that this morning," she said. "Actually, it's been 8 months," I replied. "8 months? That can't be right," Rachel insisted. "It is. Maybe you've lost track because of your affair, but I'm sure," I said. "Well, we could change that," she said, starting to get up. "Rachel, I can't forget what you did or erase those images." "It won't happen," I said, signaling for her to sit down. "Fine, be stubborn. I did everything you asked, and you still treat me like I'm nothing. I want more respect," Rachel demanded. "Is this how you want to handle it?" I asked. "Yes. I deleted all your copies of the videos. I even deleted the ones in the cloud and destroyed the flash drive. I'm tired of being treated like an outcast. I'll stay with my sister until you treat me with respect. I'll pick up the kids from school every day, and we'll have dinner at my new place without you," she said, walking to the front door. Her sister emerged from the dining room, and they left together. For the next 2 months, Rachel worked on convincing her parents and our children that I had fabricated the evidence, claiming the photos were doctored. She demanded that I show proof, but she had already deleted everything. The children were confused, and her parents wanted to believe her. Even my parents started to doubt me. Only my brother and his wife stood by me unwaveringly. I felt completely alone. I decided to confront her lover to arrange another video. This time I spared no expense. A luxury suite on the beach in California, first-class tickets, and $10,000 for the footage. I insisted the recording be done on the balcony. The lover asked for more money to cover an expensive dinner. Rachel and her sister were thrilled, so I bought an extra first-class ticket for her sister. 2 weeks later, I reviewed the new video with the lover in my car. Everything was as I had specified. I encrypted the video, uploaded it to a secure cloud, and encrypted the flash drive. The lover demanded his money, but I had questions first. "Did you approach my wife first?" I asked. "Not really, it just happened," he replied. "Who initiated the affair?" I asked. "She did," he admitted. As we drove back, I asked, "How many women have you seduced in this town?" "7," he replied, listing them. All were married. I turned off the recorder in my pocket. "Want to see something crazy?" I asked, accelerating to 90 miles per hour. "Hey, man, what are you doing?" he shouted, panicking. "Sorry, this is the crazy part," I said, steering into the trees and braking sharply. We crashed into a tree at around 50 miles per hour. Both of us were injured but alive. I called the police to report the accident. They confiscated my laptop and flash drive as evidence. After being examined at the hospital, I went home and was bedridden for a week. Rachel found out about the accident when she learned of her lover's death. She called, trying to get information, but I pretended to be clueless. The next day, the police questioned me about the connection between the deceased and my wife. I admitted knowing about the affair and explained that I had given him money to stay away from her, but he kept demanding more, leading to the accident. "So you think I crashed the car on purpose to eliminate him?" the officer asked. "I was desperate and didn't know what else to do," I replied. After the police left, I found myself alone with my chaotic thoughts. Yes, I had the means and motive, but risking my life to get rid of someone by crashing into a tree? Absurd. A few days later, Rachel called, suggesting we discuss our crumbling marriage on neutral ground, with her sister present as a mediator. "Our house isn't a good place for this conversation. I don't want it to be recorded. Let's meet at a hotel," Rachel proposed. I agreed, but insisted on choosing the room. She was concerned about safety, but I didn't want the conversation recorded either. We decided to meet at a hotel on Saturday. I trailed Rachel and Laura to the hotel. The receptionist offered us room 216, but I requested a room higher up with a street view. Rachel and Laura exchanged glances, clearly displeased. They probably had to pay again to retrieve their recording equipment from room 216. In the elevator, Laura flirted with me, pressing unnecessarily close. I told her the discussion was between me and Rachel. Laura, who typically kept her distance, now seemed unusually forward. The hotel room was standard, with a small desk, chair, dresser, and a queen-sized bed. "So what now?" Rachel asked. "Take off your clothes." "Completely. I don't trust you and you don't trust me," I said. Rachel glanced at Laura. "That's my sister. I don't want her to see me naked." "Come on, she's seen it all before," I said. Laura stuck her tongue out at me, showing off a piercing. "Fine," Rachel agreed too easily. "Get completely naked." It worked. I anticipated her plan and came prepared. Rachel and Laura began undressing. I quickly stripped and folded my clothes on the desk, placing a pen behind them. The pen looked like the hotel's but had a hidden camera. I had visited every hotel and motel to collect matching pens. I hollowed out one to fit the camera, making it slightly heavier than usual. I placed my clothes in the bathroom, keeping an eye on Rachel and Laura undressing, then walked back naked to the table and sat down. Rachel and Laura were on the bed, their clothes in a pile beside them. "Now that we're all here, let's get started," I said, trying to ignore Laura's body. "Rachel, I want a serious conversation." "In a few minutes, we'll know what this is really about," Rachel said sweetly. "I love you, darling." "Yes, like your favorite pair of shoes," I retorted. "You know that's not true. I really love you," Rachel insisted. "Sure, as long as your credit card works," I replied. Rachel's voice rose. "Don't be so sulky. Our marriage is strong enough to handle this." "Strong? You used all our strength to repeatedly stab me in the back and now expect me to turn my back on you again?" I shot back. "Don't be so dramatic. It was a mistake," Rachel said defensively. "A mistake that will end in divorce," I declared. "Darling, don't be like that. It was just a little mistake," Rachel pleaded. "It wasn't little. It was a calculated betrayal," I countered. In a high-pitched voice, I mimicked, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it would hurt you." "Honey, I'm sorry I lied. I was ashamed. I stopped lying when you confronted me," Rachel apologized. "Oh, you mean when you first denied it? Or when you called it an emotional connection? Or the third time when you admitted to just kissing him? You only stopped lying when you saw the photos. But that won't stop you from lying about other things, will it? I challenged. Laura, noticing Rachel's reaction, said, "We don't want anyone to say something they'll regret." Are you serious? How many boyfriends and husbands have you deceived, Laura? How many married men have you seduced? I accused. Rachel quietly said, "I'm so sorry for what I did." Feeling guilty isn't enough. My job is to make sure you feel it properly, I said coldly. Rachel pitifully said, "It's not that bad. What's the difference between you and a con artist? You gained my trust to deceive me." I didn't deceive you. Marriage is a contract of fidelity and trust. You broke it, Rachel argued. I kept my end. It was you who betrayed me, I countered. You forced me to sign that post-nuptial agreement. That was unfair, Rachel complained. Unfair? If I get a traffic ticket, I pay the fine. If I cheat on taxes, they take my money. If I drink too much, I go to jail. Cheaters should face consequences. Marriage is about raising a family and being faithful. Otherwise, what's the point? I explained. Rachel was speechless. Do you know how many marriages that start with infidelity last more than a few years? 5%. Was it your plan to divorce me and marry your lover? We'll never know, right? He's dead, I said, striking a nerve. Rachel's face twisted with anger. I deleted all your evidence. You can't control me anymore. Our parents and children don't know who to believe. Was it worth it? She spat. I didn't destroy this marriage. You did. I'm just stating the time of death, I responded. Rachel angrily said, Maybe I wouldn't have slept with someone else if you paid more attention to me. Why should I? You didn't pay any attention to me, I replied. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Rachel's eyes were red and puffy, and she suddenly asked, Did you have anything to do with that incident? I looked at her, maintaining a calm facade, and replied, It was just an unfortunate event. Rachel's attempts to provoke me were met with stoic silence. Tears began to stream down her face. He was a decent person, she said. A decent person who wrecks homes, I retorted, my voice cold and unforgiving. Rachel, now openly weeping, said, But you still care about me, right? Correction, I cared about you. True love is rare, even in marriage. You had it, but you tossed it aside for something shallow and fleeting. Many might want you for your looks, but no one will love you like I did after what you did to our family, I stated emphatically. Rachel quickly composed herself and stood up. I need a drink. Anyone else? She asked. She dressed hastily and left the room. As soon as the door closed, Laura slinked over to me, a sly smile on her face. You look tempting, she purred. Laura, this isn't the time, I said, irritation creeping into my voice. Laura moved closer, her eyes gleaming. Laura, your sister will be back soon. What she doesn't know won't hurt her, she replied, her voice dripping with mischief. I tried to push Laura away, but she suddenly yanked me onto the bed, screaming, Please stop! Rachel burst in, phone in hand. What are you doing to my sister? Laura cried. He attacked me. Make him stop! Rachel shoved me aside, smiling triumphantly, and dropped the phone. She picked it up, pressed the end button, and likely sent the video to the cloud. Now you're in trouble. I have a video of you attacking her, they both cackled. I slumped back in my chair, defeated. Rachel wagged her finger at me. Here's how the divorce will work. No more post-nuptial agreement. If you bring it up, I'll send you to jail. You get 10%, I get 90% full custody and support for life. If you don't agree, this video will send you to jail. Yes, I replied, realizing the depth of Rachel's deceit. This was her plan all along. Laura dressed quickly. Come on, Rachel. Moments ago, Rachel was sobbing over lost love. Now she was leaving with her sister, both laughing at me. I watched from the window until they disappeared from view. Then I got dressed, grabbed my pen, and left the hotel. The meeting had unfolded exactly as Rachel had schemed. The next day, Rachel was served with divorce papers enforcing the post-nuptial agreement. When she threatened me with her recording, I countered, You didn't delete everything. If you try to pin this on me, I'll be free the next day and you'll be in jail. Rachel was shrewd enough to bide her time. We both hired lawyers. I demanded the post-nuptial agreement be honored. I provided transcripts of all my recordings. My lawyer informed her we were restoring deleted records and only had transcripts for now. After extensive negotiations, we set a court date. The central issue was whether the post-nuptial agreement was valid and if I had the necessary records. A few days before the trial, I sent forged letters to Rachel and Laura from the health department, stating her lover had an infectious disease and they should get tested immediately. They were instructed to abstain from intimate contact for 12 months until it was confirmed they were clear. On the trial day, the judge was visibly displeased with both of us. Rachel claimed the post-nuptial agreement was signed under duress and she never committed infidelity. She wept convincingly. I argued the post-nuptial agreement was established because she was unfaithful, signed under the threat of divorce. She violated the marriage agreement and was an unfit mother, making the agreement fair. Judge, what evidence do you have that she committed infidelity? My lawyer asked, presenting video and voice recordings to support the transcripts. The judge inquired, "Why are you presenting these now?" We obtained the recordings after a lengthy process. Rachel deleted the original transcripts. Recovering data using a certified process takes time. We just got the evidence here, my lawyer explained. The judge directed the next question to me. Did Rachel delete the posts? Yes, Your Honor, we have a recording of her admitting it. I had convinced Rachel that I had strict control over the videos. She thought she had erased everything, but I had backups in multiple locations. Judges don't appreciate evidence tampering. Rachel lied about never cheating and said I had no proof. I responded, I stand by that. The judge acknowledged, then turned to Rachel's lawyer. Do the transcripts match the recordings? Yes, Your Honor, Rachel's lawyer confirmed. Do you challenge the authenticity of the recordings? The judge asked. Rachel's lawyer looked at her and she gave a slight shake of her head. No, Your Honor, he replied. This answers the validity question and nullifies compulsion claims, but none of this proves infidelity after signing the contract, the judge noted. My lawyer intervened. Yes, Your Honor. Here is the transcript of the final video and the video itself proving Rachel's infidelity after signing the agreement. The judge asked, why now? This evidence was in police custody as part of an investigation. We weren't sure it still existed, my lawyer clarified. Turning to Rachel's lawyer again, the judge asked, have you seen the video? Yes, but we believe it's inappropriate because there's no consent form, and if allowed, there's no evidence it wasn't recorded before the agreement, Rachel's lawyer argued. My client paid for the plane tickets for Rachel, Laura, and her lover and the hotel room they used, my lawyer stated. The judge asked me directly, did you consent to your wife's affair? No, I never agreed or condoned her actions, I replied. Then why pay for their tickets and hotel? The judge pressed. I asked her lover how much he needed to stop seeing my wife. He said $2,000, tickets to the Caribbean, and a 3-night stay at a luxury hotel. We agreed and I bought ticket vouchers. He used the airfare and hotel vouchers in Florida the following week while my wife was at a conference, I explained. How do we know this is the right hotel? The judge queried. In the first photo, you can see the hotel sign in the background, my lawyer pointed out. The courtroom was electric with tension as the judge meticulously examined the evidence. How did you acquire this material? He asked, his tone sharp and skeptical. I employed a private investigator after growing suspicious of my wife's activities, I replied. He secured concrete proof. And why did you decide to gather this evidence? The judge continued, clearly intrigued. For the divorce proceedings, I responded. Did the investigator know the purpose of his work? The judge asked further. Yes, I was completely transparent with him. It was more efficient and cost-effective than hiring multiple detectives. I paid him $500 for this particular footage, I explained. Rachel violated our post-nuptial agreement, I stated firmly. If you need someone to verify the video's authenticity and date, my wife's sister Laura is here. I gestured to Laura, and the entire courtroom's attention shifted to her. The judge reminded me to maintain decorum, and I quickly apologized. Is that all you obtained from your wife's lover that night? The judge asked. Yes, I said, looking directly at Rachel. But he provided most of the records you have today. He's been documenting their affair for months. I paid him around $3,000. Rachel's face twisted with rage as she realized her lover had been selling their private moments to me. For a mere $3,000, Rachel would have paid 10 times more to keep the video hidden. Though livid, she believed this was all he had. If he had more, he would have produced it already. Rachel whispered frantically to her lawyer, who then requested a recess as we neared lunchtime. The judge granted it. When we reconvened, Rachel's lawyer claimed they had a video showing me committing a crime and infidelity, which violated the postnuptial agreement. Both Rachel and Laura were prepared to testify to its authenticity. My sister and I didn't want to put the father of my children in jail, but now I see how manipulative he is, Rachel stated. The video showed a hotel room door, someone screaming, "Please stop," and Rachel bursting in, revealing me on top of Laura. Rachel screamed, "What are you doing to my sister?" And Laura cried, "He attacked me!" Rachel then grabbed her sister, her phone fell, and the video cut off. "What happened next?" the judge asked. "I locked myself in the bathroom and told my husband if he didn't leave in 2 minutes, I'd call the police. I also told him I uploaded the video to the cloud," Rachel replied. The judge turned to me. "What do you say in your defense?" My lawyer responded confidently, "We have a video to counter their claims." "Let's see it," the judge instructed. Rachel's lawyer tried to dismiss our video, but the judge allowed it. Our video began with us discussing removing our clothes to avoid hidden recording devices and ended with Rachel and Laura leaving the room, laughing. The judge looked at me with a knowing sympathy, hinting he too had faced betrayal. Rachel whispered to her lawyer, who shook his head no. My lawyer confirmed that none of my statements in the video were self-incriminating. Rachel's lawyer conceded this point, visibly frustrating Rachel. Her initial plan was to sweet-talk me into forgiveness. Her secondary goal was to trap me into incriminating myself regarding her lover's death. The fake attack on Laura was backfiring spectacularly. Laura attempted to sneak out, but when the video showed her pulling me onto the bed, the bailiff escorted her back to her seat. Rachel was deeply humiliated. Her parents sighed in disappointment, and relatives began leaving the courtroom before the video concluded. Rachel knew she had lost their support. The judge ruled in favor of the post-nuptial agreement. My lawyer then revealed Rachel's secret bank account, which held more than our combined assets. She had been funneling extra paychecks and bonuses into it for years and had taken out a second mortgage on our house. I requested my lawyer not reveal this to the judge or Rachel. Instead, my lawyer presented my bank account balance to the judge, showing that Rachel had transferred our mortgage funds to her secret account, indicating she planned to flee. This blunder led to the discovery of Rachel's hidden account. The second mortgage transfer was actually orchestrated by me using Rachel's login. I discovered her account the day I installed the monitoring software. Hidden funds not disclosed during divorce proceedings are subject to specific laws. The judge awarded me 100% of the asset and required Rachel to pay all attorney's fees and court costs. Due to her greed, she transferred all our property to her secret account, so I didn't have to pay her half the house value. The judge also sentenced Rachel and Laura to 90 days in jail for perjury. I received 95% of the property, full custody of the children, the house, 2 of our 3 best cars, and several years of alimony. Rachel got only 5%, which didn't even cover her legal fees. She kept her clothes, car, and jewelry, but I had already sold her expensive jewelry after discovering her affair. She never noticed because I stopped taking her out. I used the jewelry money and accident insurance to buy my dream car. Rachel struggled to maintain a relationship with the children and had to commute an hour for work. They never forgave her and were ashamed to be seen with her. Both she and Laura ended up working as waitresses in a dingy bar. I also sent the lovers' last words to 6 husbands of 7 wives. Drunken messages from Rachel occasionally appear on my phone. Sometimes she curses me and blames me for her ruined life, while other times she begs for forgiveness and hopes we can reunite. I save every message and video in case she tries to re-enter our children's lives. Rachel never truly loved me the way I loved her. She measured life by what she could take, not what she could give. I have a restraining order against her and her sister as they may still harbor animosity toward me.